Hi, I'm David.
And I'm Rachel.
And welcome to Leisure Bit.
We hope you've all had a lovely festive period and that you've managed to get away in your vans or have time chilling and relaxing with your family and enjoying yourself, and I hope Santa's been kind to you all.
Well, he's certainly been kind to us as we have had a lovely time away. So, anyway, let's get on to today's video, which is our top places we have visited in the camper van in 2022. As you'll know, this is the first year we've had the van, if you've followed the channel, and we thought we'd share with you my favourites, and our overall favourites together. So let's get cracking. In 2022, since we've got the van, we've visited 53 different locations and spent 71 nights away in the van, which surprised me when we went through. I'd actually miscounted at first and missed one, and probably missed another one to be fair, but really interesting to see how much time you've spent away, and also had a little bit of look of the different categories of campsites that we've visited. We've spent our time in either England or Scotland. We haven't managed to venture to Wales, Northern Ireland or across to Europe this year.
What really surprised me, David, was when we were going through the list to see sites on there that I'd forgotten we'd even been to. And it was really quite nice to go back and remember them and refresh your memory on it. So it was a really good experience to do that.
And you do forget very easily, and likewise I did the same. You look at some things and it brings back memories, and it's fantastic to be able to go and review these. You'll know yourselves if you take any photos, videos, or indeed do your own channels. It's really great to look back and see the places you've been, and it's fantastic to bring it back, because it is too easily forgotten sometimes. And it was really interesting because we went through all of them and then narrowed it down to our top ones. So without further ado, let's get cracking. These are a selection of campsites, show fields, pub stopovers or stopovers, and kind of the general sort of camping we do. We haven't done any wild camping, but we have done a fair bit of off-grid camping, so it'll be interesting to see how it comes out. So, we'd better get cracking.
Do you want to go through your top 3 first, David?
I will do. And starting with number 3. And what we'll do for each of them is just give the reason why we've picked these, because it was very difficult to narrow down to a top number because there was so many. And from the list of the 53 sites we've been to, 19 of them I would proactively go back to, and there's only 7 sites where I'd probably not go back to that we've been through the year. Not that there was any, we picked really well, so there wasn't anything that was a disaster really that we picked, but you know, when you think would you go back or would you choose something else, so for those ones that just gives you a bit of a view of what a difficult task it's been to narrow it down.
Been really difficult.
Yes. So in 3rd place on David's top sites for 2022 is Hoddom Castle and the CV Owners Meet, which was in September, so a couple of months back. And the reason for choosing that one is, for me it's about the overall experience, and it made me think, and there's lots of people we chatted to and keep in touch with and have met through the CV Owners Forum, and without the camper van, and specifically without this type of camper van as well, we probably wouldn't have met a lot of them. And it was fantastic to meet people and sit and have a chat with common interests and things like that. And we even went for a walk, as you know, which was interesting because you always want to make sure I've recce'd a walk before going. So you guys are very brave to come along on that one. But that's my third favourite campsite for 2022 for the overall experience. And second point on that, we were expecting it maybe to be a little bit different because they'd closed the restaurant on the site, but actually we had a brilliant time.
I think it was better, anyway, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And it goes to show sometimes it's what you make of things and what you make happen there. So that's for those reasons, that's why Hoddom Castle is my number 3. So on to number 2 now. This site and this place is something that's become very special to me for a number of reasons. And to cut to the chase, it's the Isle of Arran, and campsite wise the Seal Shore campsite, but I'd like to say it's for the campsite and the island as a whole. There's something I found quite magical about it, and I always wanted to visit it with one of my aunties. Unfortunately that never got to happen, but I understand why my auntie and uncle loved the island so much, and it's one place I would love to go back to. And I'd also love to walk up Goth Fell at some point, because been a couple of times now, and there's always a reason not to go up. You know, whether the pub's got too much beer flowing or whatever it happens to be, but it's one thing I would like to do. It's on my bucket list to do that one. So that's Seal Shore and on the Isle of Arran, and when the weather's lovely there, there's just something magical about it. So that's why that's number 2. So what's my number 1? This was a tough call to do, because you work through on all the different reasons for things, but the reason I chose this particular one was because it's something I wouldn't normally have done on my own, and I went and did it, and I didn't know what to expect. And part of the reason Rachel didn't come along, we didn't know what to expect. You know, we didn't know if it'd be suitable for Roxy. We just really didn't know. And it was actually Vanlove Fest 2022. It was an amazing van festival held on at Elvington Airfield that was organised very quickly, and it felt like you were part of a community being there. And it's always I personally find it a little bit strange sometimes when you're on your own, especially at an event. Not so much if you go to a campsite or a CL, or, you know, have a night away somewhere. That's not an issue. But when you go to something on your own, and certainly I felt myself, it takes a little bit of courage and pushing yourself to do it, because it's too easy to say, I'll not bother, or disappear off somewhere. But I had a thoroughly amazing time. The Utah Saints were fantastic.
And you could say you were here at the beginning. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. BP Utah Saints is our last track. Thank you very much for coming. Make some noise for Utah Saints tonight! Something good most definitely happened this evening. Thank you.
And it was just generally a brilliant day. No one was ripping you off with £10 burgers and things like that. You know, things were reasonably priced, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to going this year, and hope it's as brilliant as it was in 2022. But that's my favourite, because I pushed myself to do it, because I was doing it on my own, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So there's my personal top 3.
I find that quite funny that David's best one was the one that didn't go on, but never mind, I don't take offence, don't worry.
But Rachel, what's your top 3?
Like you said, I really struggled with this. I kept going back through the list and rechecking, etc. But I quite surprised myself, I think, by the ones that I did pick. So, in my 3rd place, I picked a pub stopover, which was the CB Inn at Arkengarthdale. And I picked that because the pub is beautiful, the food is gorgeous, the people were really nice, the scenery was just stunning, and I love Reef. So it tied everything in for me. There was great walks for the dog, but it was an exceptional atmosphere and the food was wonderful. So that's my 3rd. My second one, again, I'm going to surprise myself. I think I put this one in second place because it was the first time that we'd done a pub stopover, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect, and that was the Black Horse at Beamish. And I picked that because it was a lovely level site. The pub was brilliant, and they made such a fuss of Roxy and brought her food. The food again was exceptional. The wine was very nice too. But I really enjoyed that you were just a few minutes away from Beamish. And I think going to that weekend and seeing all the beautiful old cars, and I hadn't been to Beamish for probably about 15 years, and going back, it was brilliant. It was a full day, packed, full of interesting things, and I just highly recommend it to anybody. It was really, really good.
So, and your number one is?
Oh, my number one. I think this is the one that caught me off guard this year, and it's the site that we went to at Oban. And the reason that I picked that one was because it wasn't what I expected, and it was a big site, and as you all know, I normally like little quirky sites, but it was a big site. But we were right on the beach, and it was just, the views were amazing, the weather at that point was beautiful, shop really well stocked, Oban itself was nice with nice food and restaurant. But I think it was being on the beach, like being able to open the door and just to take Roxy to the sea. It was beautiful. It far surpassed everything that I thought it was going to be. So for that reason, that's my number one.
A really good list there, Rachel. And I think we were super lucky at Oban getting on that front row, weren't we?
Yeah.
With uninterrupted views of the sea, and the weather wasn't bad either, was it?
It was beautiful.
Fantastic. So now, to finish up with, we've got our top 5 together. So it's our ones. As you've probably seen, we kind of had a separate list of ones individually, but then we went through what our top 5 are together. So, in 5th place is the Barn at Beal. And for me, that was just a fantastic restaurant, lovely site, lovely views, really close to Holy Island.
It was beautiful. The site itself, immaculate, big pictures, wonderful facilities. There was a pub, there was a restaurant, Holy Island just right on your door, brilliant walks for rock. It just had everything. It was a lovely site, really nice. In 4th place, we have picked Waterside House in Ullswater. And we picked this site because we had an amazing few days away there. It was another one that surprised us. Again, facilities were brilliant. David went out in the boat. It inspired us to get the paddle board because we were so close to the lake. Great facilities on site again, toilets immaculate. But what we really enjoyed about that site was the people, and being able to walk into Pooley Bridge, which is full of pubs, restaurants, brilliant walk by the shore. It was a people thing, it was an everything. We laughed the full time we were there, and we did laugh, didn't we, David?
Yes.
It was brilliant, loved it.
Yeah. And would have loved to have spent longer there as well, because it was really good. And as Rachel said, I'd love to go back with the paddleboard. Unfortunately, we ran out a year this year to go and do it. At number 3, we've got Pier Cottage. And the reason for that is, what a magical place. Very different. And while we were there, we watched the film with Anthony Hopkins in about the Coniston bluebird. So that kind of made it a little bit, I suppose, a little bit special there, because you were looking out the window and it was on the TV as well at the same time. And just really beautiful area, Coniston, and I'd love to go back there.
The site was it was so quirky. There's the outside was all pictures where you'd be right on the waterside. the facilities were good, weren't top notch, but actually it was the site that was quite an inspiration for me. It was magical, it was beautiful, as David said, watching that film, seeing on TV actually what was outside your window, short trot into the town for something to eat. Absolutely perfect, magical, loved it. So, at number 2, this one was one that we both had been to previously and went back to see if it was as good as we remembered, and it was. So that's why it's our number 2, and that is Castlerigg Hall at Keswick. Why did we pick that one? Because when we looked out the windows, we had the back doors open and the view was just breathtaking and spectacular. Facilities were top notch. All of the toilet facilities, the washroom facilities, immaculate. Food on site, a little cafe on site. The walk down into Keswick itself was through a lovely wooded area. It was just breathtakingly beautiful, and you couldn't ask for anything else on the site. What did you think, David?
Yeah, I think the same. It's got magical views, and it didn't rain. How about that? So that takes us to what our joint favourite was, and this one was interesting because we chatted about it a bit, but we'd both kind of ended up ranking it as number 1 as our joint kind of favourite, and it was actually the Whitby Halloween and Goth weekend, just for the experience. I mean, the campsite there was very basic, you know, no hookups or anything like that. And similar to my number 1, it's been the off-grid experience that's been super brilliant. So, and the experience of the people going into Whitby.
I think it was the proximity. So the showground is right next to the Abbey. So you've got the history and the pull of the Abbey as well, and it's beautiful backdrop. But you couldn't get a site any closer to Whitby, probably, if you tried. You know, down the steps into Whitby, there's so much in Whitby to see, to do, go out on boats, go out on the beach, again, things to eat. And for me, it was the actual Goth weekend. I've seen it before on other people's channels and on the newspapers, but I've never been. And for me to see the effort that people put into their outfits and the pleasure they were getting from you going up and engaging them in chat and saying, you know, I love your outfit, that everybody was so friendly and wanted you to talk to them. It was just magical. I've never been to it before, and I loved it. It blew my mind, that place. It was lovely.
And just generally the experience, and we had a lovely view over the cliff out to sea as well. Yeah. So that's our individual top 3s and our overall top 5s.
Hi, I'm Roxy, and Mummy and Daddy have invited me back to the tubes to tell you my favourite sights that got my tail wagging. In 3rd place, we had Ellerton Park. I liked that because it had a lake and a nice walk, and I met some friends there and we played. In 2nd place, I liked Waterside at Pooley Bridge. Why? Because we were by the water and there was lots of dogs to play and splash and walk into Pooley Bridge. I loved that site. But my favouriteest of all this year was the Seacote site at St. Bees, because I met lots and lots of doggies on the beach. I met Labradors, I met Frenchies, I met all sorts, and I had a great time running up and down the beach and in and out the sea. They were my top 3 sites. Do any of your furry friends have top sites? If so, leave them in the comments below. Merry Christmas. Love, Roxy.
So that's our leisure bit. Sights of 2022 based on mine, Rachel's and then our joint favourites.
And Roxy's.
We'd love to hear your thoughts, or if you think there's any that you've watched that you think, you know, wow, that one would be amazing. Or indeed, if you've got any tips for 2023, please drop them in the comments below. We'll pop links to all the videos that we've talked through in the top 3s and in the top 5, so that you can watch those. Thank you for watching.
Hope you've enjoyed it.
And enjoy the rest of the festive season. Catch you next time.
Bye.